Welcome to our video lesson on how to find common denominators for fractions and how to rewrite them with common denominators. Now the first part I want to talk about is why learn this. Well, there's two reasons that come to mind. The first is when we write fractions with a common denominator, it allows us to compare the fractions easily. It's much easier to compare 3/4 to 1/4 than it is to compare anything with different denominators than it is to compare, for example, 4/5 and 1/4. It's much harder to do that, but it's much faster if we have the same denominator. The other one is to add and subtract fractions, which is what we're going to be doing in this unit. In order to do that, you need to be able to find a common denominator. To remind you, a denominator is the number on the bottom. So whenever we're talking about common denominators, we're talking about having the same number on the bottom of our fraction. If we look at 1/4, if I draw a circle and divide it into 4 parts and color in one of those parts, that represents 1/4. Another way to represent the same amount of that circle could be if I divided this into 8, 1/4 is equivalent to or equal to 2 eighths. I didn't have to change the amount that was colored in my picture. The two orange portions stayed the same. The only thing that changed was how many parts I divided it into. These are called equivalent, which stands for equal, equivalent fractions. You might have seen this before when you were simplifying fractions and writing them in simplest forms. It's a different way to express the same fraction. All right, let's look at how we could find the common denominator of two fractions like 4/5 and 1/4. The first thing I would do, there's two methods we can do. One of them is to list all the multiples. So we start with 4. All the multiples of each denominator, so each bottom number. So we have 4 and we have 5. Let's start with 4 first. So 4 times 1 gives me 4. These are the multiples. So you're thinking times 1 times 2 times 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. And 4 times 6 is 24, and I believe I can stop there. The other denominator I have is 5, so I'm going to write out the multiples of 5. 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20, and I can stop there. I can stop there because I have found the same number in my multiples of 4 and my multiples of 5. And what that means is the common denominator for 4/5 and 1/4 is going to be a denominator of 20. Now these are equivalent fractions, so we have to keep them of the same amount. What we do is we see how many times did I have to multiply 5 to get 20, and that was 4 times. So whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do the same thing to the numerator. So I multiplied my denominator times 4. I'm going to do the same thing to my numerator times 4. What's 4 times 4? 4 times 4 is 16. Now over here I have 1/4, and my denominator 4 was here. The common denominator is 20. What do I have to do to 4 to make it 20? That's times 5. Whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do the same thing to the numerator, so I'll multiply 1 times 5. And I'm going to get 5/20. So rewritten using a common denominator, I would have 16/20 over 5/20. Let's look at some more examples. Here's number 2 and number 3. We have to find a common denominator, the least common, which means the smallest common denominator for these fractions. Let's start with 1/2 and 2/3. My denominators are 2 and 3. The numbers on the bottom are the denominators. I start by listing the multiples. What are the multiples of 2? 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. And I think I can stop there. Now the multiples of 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. And I know I can stop there. Now I'm looking to see if I have the same number listed in both of my multiples. And I do. It's 6. So now I'm going to rewrite these fractions with a denominator of 6. Something that's an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 6. How do I get from 2 to 6? Well, I multiply it by 3. If I do the same thing to the numerator, 1 times 3 is 3. So my new fraction written with the least common denominator would be 3/6. Okay, to get from 3 to 6 would be times 2. Do the same thing with the numerator, times 2. 2 times 2 gives me 4. So these written with a common denominator of 6, 1/2 becomes 3/6. And if you wanted to draw that, drawing is not perfect, but it'll do. 1/2 will be all this part here. And you can see that when it's divided into 6 parts, it's the same thing as 3/6. Okay, then 2/3 would be the same as 4/6. So if I draw the same circle and divide it into 6 again, 2/3 will be the same as 4/6. And that's 4/6. And if I was to divide it into thirds, do it like this, you can see that that would be 2 of my thirds. So those are the same denominators, common denominator, or they're the equivalent fractions with to the first fraction. All right, last one. We need to find a common denominator of 1/6 and 2/5. So I'm going to write out the factors of 6 and 5. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. Let's stop there. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30. And I do believe we can stop there because I have the same number, same multiple for both denominators. So my denominator, a common denominator, is going to be 30. How do I get from 6 to 30? Let's times 5. What's 1 times 5? 1 times 5 is going to be 5. So my first equivalent, my fraction that's equivalent to 1/6 would be 5/30. And how do I get from 5 to 30? Well, that's times 6. With my numerator, I'm going to multiply 2 times 6, which will give me 12. So now I have 5/30 and 12/30. That's all for now on finding the least common denominator. You might need some time to practice, and if you need any help, please feel free to ask me. I'm here to help you. That's all for now. I'll talk to you later.